Hey there, my name's Mike Brach. We're going over some more punching basics today. And what are we working on? Last time it was the jab. This time it's the cross. So this is a powerful punch. It's a punch that you're going to love because it involves full body motion. And when you think about how does boxing training relate to improved quality of life, how do things get better every day as a result of our boxing training? Well, think about it. In everyday life, is there something you might do like a reaching activity to get a cup out of a cupboard, pull something out of a drawer? Wouldn't it be great if we can still use that same neural programming, that same idea of neuroplasticity, strengthening connections in your brain through repetitive movement? Of course it would. So that's what we're trying to get after with one of the aspects of our boxing training. And this punch is a great example of it. Plus with this punch, the cross, we use whole body movement. We get a lot of good hip rotation. We get some good core stability from both the impact when we land the punch, and also the laws of physics tell us that when we make contact with an object, for every amount of force I'm throwing against that object, it's pushing back against me. So when you think about rotational core control, maintaining control and strength of your postural muscles, this is a wonderful activity. So we've got our punching bag here from our good friends at Century Martial Arts, manufacturers of outstanding equipment. And if you don't have a punching bag at home, that's okay. You don't need one. You can just punch the air. Because the idea here is the more we do something, the easier it is to do it. And the more we can lower the threshold of what's required from our mental effort as well as from our physical energy. So when we throw these punches, we're doing so much more than just blowing off some steam and getting a good workout. We're also really helping to reprogram our brain and maintain really good body control. It's helpful to have proper equipment for this. So if you've got boxing gloves, that's great. Hopefully if you've got gloves, you've got wraps on your hands. If you need help putting them on, see the video on our YouTube channel about putting on hand wraps. It's pretty simple and it's really good fine motor exercise for you. Also, if you're wondering, well, how do I start? Go back and watch the video on stance basics, because that's what reminds us we're going to square up, right? We're going to get our feet a little bit wider than shoulder width. We're going to have one foot back for our more powerful side. So in this case, my right side is back. So my right leg and my right hand, that's my back hand. My front leg and my front hand are my left hand. So when you think about it, earlier we had a video where we were working on the jab, a nice quick punch where we're coming off that front hand and we're really making a fast impact. This is different. This is a cross, and our cross is going to come off of that backhand with good power. A lot of people don't realize this, but the key to a good cross isn't from your shoulder strength. The power in a cross does not come from having big guns. It doesn't come from lifting weights. In fact, my teacher for fighting and for Kung Fu for many years, Shifu Martin Ware, he always says, people with big muscles usually aren't good fighters because they spend too much time in front of the mirror trying to look good. People who are good fighters become so from doing over and over repetitive training. And so that's what we're getting with this punch. So what we're going to do, this punch doesn't come from our big muscles. It comes from starting with our ankle, getting a good heel whip. So our pivot is key, turning our hips, and that allows us to let our whole body, which is much stronger than just your shoulders, much stronger than just your triceps, it allows our whole body to get behind this punch. So when you think about it, where does it start? It starts by picking up the heel. Then what do? We're going to turn in, turn back. We've got a whole video coming for you about pivoting, but let's try a few of these. So we're facing our target. We pick up the heel. Well, let's take a step back. We're facing our target. Our feet are how wide? Shoulder width apart at least. We've got your right foot back, your left foot forward. We've got a slight bend in both knees. Your back is up straight and your hands are up. We know that since your left foot is forward, your left hand is your front hand. We know that since your right foot is back, your right hand in this case is your back hand, and it's where we're going to throw this punch. First, we're just going to get the pivot down, so let's try a few of those. You pick up the heel, turn in, so you whip that ankle way out to the side of the room and whip it back. Turn out, turn back. The reason we get that pivot going from the foot is because, think about it, if we can turn from the foot, we're engaging our gastroc. There's a great video about that. But also, we're not cranking on your knee. Think about it. If your feet are planted and you start turning in, what's taking the beating there? The ligaments of your knee. We really want to avoid that. So our pivot is the first step in success. So we're pivoting, we're whipping that heel out. Let's do 10 of them. 1, keep your hands up the whole time. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Good. Now as we pivot, I want you to pay attention to keeping your back up straight and turning your hips with it. It's helpful to imagine a steel rod that starts at your shoulder, goes all the way down through your hip, and that way this moves together. It moves together as one unit. So when you start your cross, you're either facing the target straight on, or you're slightly facing away. And when you finish your cross, if this is your line of motion, when you finish your cross, your line of motion is here, on the other side of your target. Because this is a punch where we're going all the way through our target. So you start at your back shoulder and you punch out straight and across the body. That's important to think about with the mechanics of our hip movement. So let's try 10 more, really turning the hip and finishing 45 degrees away from our target. So 1, and back. 2, whip back. 3, whip out, whip back. 4, back. 5, back. 6, back. 7, whip back. 8, whip back. 9, 10. Good. Notice that if you turn too far, then your front leg is getting a lot of strain. Think about it. If I'm turning here and I twist too far, this knee's starting to take a beating. So we really want to take care of your knees. So that's why it's important that we start out and we turn 45 degrees away from our target. That comes through control from our hips and our pivot. And then we turn back and face forward. Turn away, turn back and face forward. Good. Now, we've got the heel whip down. We've got the hip work down. Let's get the punch in there. So the punch, like we said, it's a straight punch, meaning my arm's reaching all the way out, but it's going through my target. It starts here at my back shoulder, and it finishes just past the other shoulder. So, let's do 10 of them. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. And if you really want to get some pop on there, you can turn all the way in like this, where you're really laying it way across. The problem there, though, is if you go too far and you miss, let's imagine you were in a fight. What opens up? All of this is unguarded. So we can think about if we're here and we're coming back, that's pretty good. So we just did 10 with your right hand back. Let's switch stances. Now your right foot is forward, your left hand is back. So we're throwing our cross off of which hand? It's always off of our back hand. The jab goes off which hand? It's always off of our front hand. So let's do our heel whip. 1, 2, 3, 4. So you're picking up the heel and turning in. 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, hands up, 10. Good, I want to give you a different view of that as we do the hip turn. So we're going to turn in 1 and back, 2 and back, 3 and back, 4 and back, 5. You're focusing on your hips, turning 45 degrees away from your target, back, 7, back, 8, back, 9, back, 10, back. Good. So we've got the heel whip, we've got the hip turn. Let's start off in really good fighting stance. I'm going to face you this time so I can watch your work. Just kidding, I don't have that kind of technology. Sorry. So your feet are how wide? A little bit wider than shoulder width. Your right foot is forward, your left foot is back. We've got a good bend in your knees. Right hand is up high, that's your front hand. Back hand is up high, that's your back hand. We're going to punch out and across the body, pull it back. That's 1. Out and across the body, pull it back. That's 2. Out, back. 3, 4, 5, 6, hands up. 7, back up straight. 8, don't turn too far. 9, 10. Good. So hopefully you're getting a little bit of a workout from doing this stuff. And hopefully you can see the importance of having proper mechanics when you're doing these punches. Because if you're twisting too far, you're hurting your knees. If you're not turning enough, you're not getting enough power. So there's a fine line to be walked of getting a good turn and also coming back into fighting stance. What I see a lot of times with people who are new to this is they kind of make their motions smaller. And when we think about what's helpful for both boxing training in real life as well as training for fighting our movement disorders, Parkinson's disease, other problems, big movements are key. So if we're going to go back to our right foot back stance with our hands up, we can throw 1, we can throw 10 of them. So you get your hands up high and you're nice and tall, you're ready to go. 1, 2, whip it back fast. 3, hands up high. 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. And then what did we do in the last video? You can either switch your feet, or if you can safely, or with the use of a couch or a chair or something to stabilize you, if you can jump switch, then we've already changed your lead foot and your lead hand. So let's do 10 on this side. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. I wanted you to see it from this angle because I want you to see the shoulder and the hip moving together in unison. And that's something you may want to do by practicing this video over and over. Because think about it too, we've talked about the importance of the pivot for your knees. That matters quite a bit. The other thing we want to make sure we're stabilizing is your core and your spine. If you're twisting too much from your spine just to throw this punch, so if your knees stay straight and you're getting all your rotation from your spine, eventually with a punch like this, with the power you're going to generate, you're going to give yourself some problems in your low back. And that could take you out of training for a while. So one key, heel whip. Another key, hip turn. And another key, shoulder and hip alignment. Let's think about it. These biomechanics matter because punching stuff is so much fun. And if it wasn't so much fun, we wouldn't have to worry about all of these details. But I want you to enjoy boxing training and punching as much as I do, and I want you to get all of the benefits that are available to you through this type of work. So make sure when you're out there, make sure when you're practicing at home, you spend some time first getting that heel whip right. What was the second key of the day? Hips. Turn your hips. what was the third key? Shoulder and hip alignment, so that way you're moving your upper body together. You're not getting most of your rotation from your spine or just from your lower body. You're keeping things in really good posture, so that way you can jab and cross and have some fun. I hope this helps you in training for our class. I'd love to see you in class more and more if you can make it. Also, if you have questions about boxing training, or biomechanics or any of this type of stuff, use the email address at the bottom of this video, TribeWellnessLLC@gmail.com. And if you'd like to donate any amount to Tribe Wellness for our work with Parkinson boxing, other movement disorders, and other exercise programs for specialty populations, there's a link below to PayPal. So until next time, keep your hands up, keep training. We're all in this together.